Welcome to the Boyz Podcast. They're all about sports, and more sports. And now, the Baller Boys, Mark and Shemaiah.
Hello, and welcome back to the Boyz Podcast. It's your boy, Mark, but I am not alone. I am joined by the SOTB, the music man with the plan, Shemaiah. What's up, man?
Everything's dope, man. Everything's like, man, Baller Boys. So we're hitting nothing but nets right now.
Ooh, I like it. We're hitting nothing but nets right now. It's not just any episode of the Boyz Podcast, though. We are wrapping up this Spurs season with the first annual Spursies. So, y'all, thank you for joining us. This is our first attempt at an awards quote-unquote show. I'm dressed up for the event. I've got a V-neck. I've got shorts on. I'm ready to go for this awards show. I really do have all that on, but I don't have a suit and tie on right now. But we keep it casual around here in the Baller Boys. We keep it casual, but this is our first attempt at our own picks. This is our opinions, by the way. You are most welcome to have your own opinion of who you have as winners for each of these categories. We're going to have 4 categories for y'all today. So, let's go over the categories first. First one's going to be most underrated Spur. Second category is most improved Spur. Third category is best Spurs storyline. And the fourth category is Spur of the year. So how Shemaiah and I are going to do this, we're basically each going to give our own picks. We kind of jotted down a few potential winners, like a pool, like A, B, C, D type of deal. We have some names down here, and we're going to kind of give our own picks. We don't know what each of us has picked as far as winners for these. So we could have different names. We might have the same name, but it opens the door for some interesting conversation because I'm curious to see what Shemaiah has here as far as a winner for some of these categories, because there's a few categories here that interest me more than some of the others. So, let's hop right into it, man. All right. So, opening the Spursies is the most underrated Spur of the 2021-2022 season. Oh, man. So, there's a bunch of names we could have gone with on this one. Shemaiah, I know this is one of the most interesting categories for this, and I was very interested in hearing what you've got for your most underrated Spur of the year.
I mean, first of all, it's not going to be an easy pick.
It's not. This is one of the toughest ones.
There's so many points that can be given to any player, actually. Underrated, I have to say.
Not just underrated, most underrated.
Yeah, most underrated. I mean, I'm going to just be safe and go by the choices that we had outside of the choices that I could pick, because then it'd be like totally impossible for me to make a decision, make up my mind.
Let's go ahead and run through some of the choices here.
Yeah, so you got Trey Jones, you got Jacob, you got Lonnie, you got Devin, and you got Josh, a.k.a. JR, Jay Rich.
Yeah.
I was thinking about Jay Rich, but I was like, nah. He basically, he joined later in the season. So I would say... I would say he's underrated because I think he has more to show the organization. So I don't think he's the most underrated Spur. I feel like Devin is the most underrated Spur. He came in 2020, and between 2020 and 2021, he had a jump in his point average, even his field goal percentage, even his rebound, even his assistant, can't talk, but you know what I'm trying to say. It's his assistance to the players. He improved. And in this season, 2022, he's had, some inconsistencies, but he also has some shining moments. especially in the last few games of the season. So as far as underrated, yeah, he's probably the most underrated Spur because I think he has a spark. When I saw him hit those threes, I think it was like the few last games left in the season. Was it playing? It was one of the playing games. He was lighting up the threes, man. Yeah. And I was like, yo, man, imagine he did this every game.
Yeah, he played well during the play-in game. Yeah.
So, out of that list, I would say Devin is probably the most underrated Spur because the way he played in the play-in game, I'm like, okay, I like what I see. And we know Keldon is now on this list. We know that DJ is now on the list because they shouldn't be. They're obviously, players on this team that could be arguably the most improved. But yeah, I mean, Devin, just because the fact compared to 2020, his point average was like 5 points. 2021, his point average was 12 points. And 2022, this season, it's been off and on. But regular season is 12 points. So you can argue and say he brings something of value to the team. And I think there's a lot more in Devin that can be scary in the next season. And we haven't seen his fullest peak as a player in the NBA.
Yeah, his point average went up significantly too this season. And they gave him more minutes, I noticed too, like as a difference between this season and last season. So he's garnering their trust, the coaching staff's trust, and he's hitting threes. He can make some threes out there, and that's going to make him a valuable wing for Dejante. So yeah, great pick. Again, this was one of those tougher ones because just so many different names. I like me some Jay Rich, like me some Lonnie Walker. They all had some highlights, and Pirtle's been great. I'm going to go with point guard Trey Jones, 2020 round 2 pick from Duke. He's 22 years old, and I think the Spurs found something in this kid. I think he can be the backup to Dejante going forward. He had a quiet night versus the Pelicans in the play-in. He only had 4 points on 17 minutes, but again, he's been getting more minutes. He's under contract through next season. Just going to compare some stats here. So 2020, 2021, he played 37 games, 7 minutes a game on 47% field goal shooting and 60% three-point field goals, but he was only 3 of 5. He only had 5 attempts from 3. In 2021, 2022, this season, he played 69 games. Is it probably actually a little bit more because these are a little bit, these stats are a little bit outdated as far as games played. So he probably played more games. But he averaged 16.6 minutes a game on 49% field goal shooting. He's only 19.6% from 3. So as he takes more threes, his percentage needs to increase for him to be a more valuable asset out there, especially if they're going to see him as Dejante's backup coming off the bench. But the point is, he jumped from 7 minutes to 16.6 minutes, almost a 10-minute increase. His field goal percentage actually got better with more minutes on the floor, so he's a little more efficient. His three-point shooting needs to improve. But let me just go over some of his games here. I mean, so prior to the Pelicans, where he only had 4 points, he had 12 points against the Mavericks in 21 minutes, 15 points against the Warriors in 33 minutes, 14 points against the T-Wolves with 30 minutes, 14 points against the Nuggets with 33 minutes, and 18 points against the Trailblazers in 34 minutes. Again, DJ was missing some time because of an illness, so Trey Jones came in there and filled the void, and he was a contributor. And to me, the Spurs giving him more minutes shows that they are trusting him more and they believe in his development. So Trey Jones, this was a tough award, but I think Trey deserves it, and he is earning a spot and earning his keep on this team.
Yeah, I mean, I like the picks. He has some good points. So, I mean, I'm just leave it at that. I like him. I mean, I would have done the same thing. I would have picked Trey if I didn't decide to take Devin for most underrated player.
It's just one of the toughest categories for, at least to me. Like when I first thought about this, I was like, man, this is going to be a lot tougher than I thought.
Yeah, to pick one name. Really, Jacob, Lonnie, and Josh, I think those players are not really underrated because, I mean, they just, just listen to what we said about Trey and Devin, because if you look at what Trey offers, super young player, like a kid compared to other players in the league. If he gets crazy, ice in his veins, bro, he can really go crazy next season. Like stupid crazy. Like, where he come from?
Yeah, he showed flashes this season. They're giving him the minutes too.
If Trey and Devin go crazy next season, they're young and they will put everybody on notice. And the league will be like, oh, snap. And it will just make the Spurs that much more dangerous throughout the season. And that sets up for the next category, if you want to set that up. And it'll set up the pick that I'm going to pick.
Oh, okay. I like this. All right. So on to our second category. That was a tough first one, y'all, but thank you for hanging in with us. And, we've got another good category here. Most improved Spur. So going to read through some of the names here. Dejante Murray, Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, and Jakob Poeltl. Shemaiah, who's your pick on this one, man?
So the most interesting thing about this.
I hear some hesitation here.
Well, I'm pretty confident with my pick.
Okay, I got you.
Lonnie is a great pick. I did pick him though for the best Spurs storyline. I have to go with DJ, man. I feel like it's not just because he got to the All-Star. You know what I'm saying? Because honestly, that was a amazing moment for Spurs to see their own go to the All-Star to represent the franchise.
Huge. I was about to say huge thing for the franchise.
Because it's bigger than that. Because I feel like him making the All-Star, it put more spotlight on the Spurs. Because people weren't really talking about the Spurs as much, right? But when he made the All-Star, he was in the game, All-Star talk, the weekend, all that stuff. All of a sudden, you see tweets from all of these greats, current and former NBA players, co-signing DJ. And if you look at DJ's stats, his average for the regular season, 21. Last year was 21. 2020, it was 15. 2019, it was 10. 2018, it was 8. 2017, it was 8. 2016, it was 3. Career average 12. Regular season 21. That's my pick for the storyline for the best Spurs. Mainly because the fact.
So he's your most improved Spur.
Well, yeah, most improved. But also, I mean, like I said, you can pick any other player in this category. You have a good argument. But I think DJ, he's proven himself to be something that people must pay attention to, without question.
Yeah, for sure. You made almost every point that I was going to make because you and I have the same pick. I've got Dejante Murray as the most improved Spur. Like you said, he jumped from 15.7 points per game to 21.1. Leads in average steals a game. He leads the league. His field goal percentage on both spectrums improved. He went from 45.3% field goal percentage in 2020 to 46. He went from 31.7 3-point field goal percentage to 32. So he's made improvements in various areas. He's a steal leader in the league as far as average. He is actually a finalist for most improved player in the NBA. So that's a big deal again, and it matches the name of this category, most improved Spur. He's, and it's showing. And like you said, he's gotten a lot of recognition and respect from well-known players in the league. EJ, Draymond, you've got a lot of people who are putting some respect on his name and really showing the world that this kid is talented and he is determined to grow and improve as a player. And like you said, it brings a big spotlight onto the Spurs organization. It wasn't just a win for DJ and his self-confidence, but it was a win for the city of San Antonio, and it was a win for the Spurs organization. So Dejante Murray, most improved Spur, well-deserved. Keldon had himself a nice season, especially down the stretch. Jakob made some big strides as well, too. Devin did, as we just talked about, in the most underrated Spur. But this was DJ season for sure.
Yeah, man. And I know I'm basically mentioned best Spur storyline. I kind of jumped ahead because I wasn't realizing actually, I picked the same player for both categories.
Well, you picked a good segue then.
But my reason, if you don't mind jumping to that category real quick.
Yeah, so best Spurs storyline.
The reason why I picked DJ is simply because of this. For this season, right? If you just look at this season alone, you don't look at any other year. He has to be the best storyline because what other player can trump the storyline of the All-Star? I mean, seriously, like there's no other player that can trump that story.
Right. He easily had the most important season of all the Spurs players.
Because he had the honor, right, to be part of a tradition that is probably the most cherished part of the season in the league. Because countless memories, right, of NBA history of the All-Star weekend is shared with some of the greatest names who ever played. So the fact that he was able to associate his name with those greats, easily best storyline.
All right. Nice. I'm glad that you tied in your most improved Spur with the best Spurs storyline. And we had some good storylines this season. And I just named some of them here. And it's funny because Shemaiah knew right off the bat what he wanted to go with. So I'm just going to go through some of the answers that we had here for some of the potential winners. So the first one is race for 10th place, a.k.a. Keldon's tear between March and April, where he scored 26, 21, 21, 23, 21, 28, 20, 20, 24-point games. That was all in that stretch between March and April. So, yeah, and it was a huge tear. Main contributor for the Spurs getting into the play-in the first place. Keldon did definitely make some strides in the right direction. Next one is Lonnie's tear. So Keldon wasn't the only one who had a pretty on-fire stretch. Lonnie's tear, he had a stretch of 17, 21, 17, 23, 22, 22, and 30-point games off the bench. This was a little bit after the trade deadline, but Lonnie just went on a tear for that little stretch, and it was something special. And Lonnie's already a pretty likable dude, good, humble player, good story. And it was just nice to see him kind of go out there and show that what he's got, what he can do, even off the bench. The next storyline was Jay Rich earning his keep post-trade deadline. Normally you wouldn't see a player just be so involved and incorporated in his team's offense and his team's system so quick, but Jay Rich did just that. He has earned his keep since that trade deadline. He's been probably one of the most valuable contributors off the bench, and you can tell the coaching staff and Pop trust him. They're giving him the minutes. They've been giving him more minutes, and he's been contributing and being, pretty valuable off the bench. The next storyline, of course, as we just alluded to, Dejante Murray's ascension to All-Star. Big deal. We just talked about how important that was in the last segment or in the last category, so we won't go too much into that. It was a big deal either way. In the last one, Pop becomes the winningest regular season head coach in NBA history with 1,336 regular season wins. Of course, he's got more wins now, but that's the number that he broke the record with, and it was against the Jazz in a close game. My pick is Coach Pop becoming the winningest regular season coach. It doesn't happen often, and it's only appropriate that it happens with Popovich. He's one of the best of all time, and I'm glad he's getting his roses, and he got the recognition that he deserves. And he passed up, I believe, Don Nelson in this award and this honor. And he deserves all of the honors that he can get because he is a legend. And, DJ making All-Star, awesome. Huge thing for everyone involved. Coach Pop was happy for him because DJ works hard. And, DJ was really happy that Pop broke the record and now holds this title. And you saw all the players at the end of that game celebrating with Pop as much as he wanted to leave the floor. You could tell he's got the respect of his team, and they just love him and they want to see him succeed, much like Pop wants to see his guys succeed. So big deal, huge honor. And that's my pick. Coach Pop, man.
Yeah, and I purposely did that so it'll balance everything out, because we all know Coach Pop would pick DJ and DJ would pick Coach Pop.
Yeah, it works hand in hand, and I'm glad it worked out like this, because both of these events probably could have been, both of these storylines could have won this award, won this category
easily. Yeah, because like I said, I feel like when DJ made that headline, it was a big splash for Spurs talk outside of San Antonio. Same thing with Coach Pop. When that happened, the most winningest coach, once again, huge storyline, a big discussion outside of San Antonio. So yeah, either one would have been perfectly fit for that.
Yeah, for sure. And again, this was one of those categories that was especially difficult, at least for me to choose from, because there was always, even with underrated Spur, there were some names in there. There was 2 names I was kind of stuck on. Same deal with best storyline. Just 2 very good storylines. It was just tough to, either one of them could have won, but you got to pick one. That's what we're doing here with the Spursies. So, Shemaiah, we have come to the final countdown, the main course, Spur of the Year. This is the biggest award we've got here at the Spursies, first annual Spursies. If you're just tuning in, well, you're missing a good show here. This is our opinion, y'all. So of course, feel free. You can have your own choices as well, and you could have your own reasonings for picking a different player. But this is ours. We're the Baller Boys. So it's about our opinions and what we see. So Spur of the Year, we've only got 3 names here in the Spur of the Year award category. So here we go. First one, Dejante Murray. Second name, Keldon Johnson. And third player, Jakob Poeltl. So to me, these were the 3 Spurs that had the biggest impact on the team overall. They've all made jumps in their own aspects and own regards. Just go look at the stats. Poeltl, we cannot discredit what he did this season. He made some jumps in some pretty important areas. Keldon, we just talked about his stretch near the end of the season. He's becoming more consistent. He's improved his 3-point shooting. And of course, we just talked about DJ ascending to all-star status and earning the respect of his fellow league mates and big names from around the league. So, Shemaiah, here we go. What's your pick for Spur of the Year?
I mean, it's super easy for me, man. I'm gonna say this.
Lay it out.
I'll respect to the three that you picked. I'm gonna say 13, 17, 21. So DJ all the way, because he averaged 21 points this season. Keldon averaged 17. Jacob averaged 13. So when it comes to the player that really added that spark to the team, it has to be DJ. Because without his contribution this season, heck, I don't even think the Spurs would have gotten as far as they did. So, because when he's on the floor, he has the potential to be that leader, right? That's been floating around. Well, next season, he has the resume, right, of being an all-star. And he has a very strong possibility to explode, to go to the next level as an NBA player, just like Keldon does, just like Jacob does. Don't want to take anything away from those two. But not DJ, as far as Spur of the Year, definitely, because he's contributed in such a way that I think elevated the confidence of the players on that team. And without his contribution, I don't think they would have gotten as far as they did.
Absolutely. I know we in most improved Spur category, we talked about DJ's stats and all of the improvement that he's made and the significance of him taking that next step to all-star and putting the spotlight back on San Antonio, and especially for the organization being in the process of rebuilding. It's a huge first step for the organization, and they just have to keep building and going in the right direction. But they have got a wonderful building block here with their, one of these homegrown dudes reaching that all-star status. And who knows, Keldon may be joining DJ next season in that award. We'll see what happens. But because Keldon's shown some pretty important improvement, especially down the stretch and during this past season. But, we talked about this, Shemaiah. It comes down to experience. These guys are growing with the experience and the opportunity that they've been given. And DJ took full advantage of that. And I'm with you. I'm right there with you. My pick is Dejante Murray for Spur of the Year. Well-deserved. Just like you, I think this was maybe the easiest pick for me. Out of all the categories, DJ's just done so much, not only for himself, but for the team, for the city organization. It's him reaching the heights that he has brought a spotlight to the Spurs organization and attention and excitement, especially for the fans. Something the fan base can look forward to for years to come, and further development from guys like Keldon and Jakob. Both those guys had good improvements this past season, but DJ's was, again, the most important and the most significant as far as what it had, the effect that it had on the team overall. So right there with you, man.
Yeah. The thing is, all right, if you ask yourself, what player or which player do you see completely catching on fire next season? It's DJ. It's DJ.
Yeah. Do you think he's an all-star going forward?
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
It's all on his resume. So it's almost like he has to have the attitude, y'all gonna pick me again because I've been there. So I'm gonna do it again. That should be the attitude.
Yeah, you know what I think is gonna motivate him next season too is the fact that he can look at how he got in this season. And that I don't mean that to take away from his accomplishments. I mean that like as a serious motivator for him. Maybe he can look back and say, you know what? Next season, I'm going to get in, but I'm not going to be a fill-in. I'm going to get in as one of the initial names that make it on that roster. Not because Draymond got hurt. All respect to Draymond and big props. Again, like big names, guys like Draymond were really like recognizing DJ's efforts and talents. And, you know, he was one of those advocates for what he does for the game. But I think DJ is going to look back at this season, this all-star selection, and be, you know, saying to himself, challenging himself, saying, I'm going to go in there not as a fill-in next season. I'm going to go in there as one of those top like 10 names that you think of that need to be an all-star in the West.
Well, the thing too is the fact that he's being still recognized from the NBA, right? One of the awards finalists, like you mentioned earlier in the episode, key phrase, most improved player. That's coming from the NBA, all right? That's not just coming from the Baller Boys or any other, source. That's coming right from the league.
Yeah, the league is recognizing
that. Is huge, right? That's huge. So next season, we can most likely expect DJ to basically come out very confident. And I think that will really just be a spark that other players will feed off of. Because if he comes out the gate hot and ready to go with confidence and dominate, it does nothing but help the other players to step up too. Not to say Keldon and Jacob hasn't. I'm just saying it'll just be that extra motivation to contribute to what they do already and help them go to the next level.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, motivation. I mean, all the guys, you saw how motivated and happy the team was when Pop got that record. And, they were the same way when DJ, representing one of us, in that all-star game under the bright lights with huge names like KD and LeBron,
I believe other players mentioned the fact that, DJ deserved it. DJ, yeah, I'm glad he's given that, opportunity to represent us because, he's been stepping up. And yeah, I mean, like I said, that's the reason why I picked him. It's because if you look at the average points for the season, he's top of the list, man, for the Spurs. So yeah. It's kind of hard not to pick someone who's delivered the highest percentage in points for the season because, or average, I should say, for the points is because, that's usually the one who's hungry, Not to say no one else is hungry, but they were hungrier. And if anything, it'll probably motivate them to want to find a way to get to the All-Star too. And I think he's the player that they look up to now as far as, man, if he can make the All-Star game, I could too. And someone that I think can make the All-Star, someone like Keldon can make the All-Star. Jacob can make the All-Star. Heck, Lonnie can make the All-Star. You see what I'm saying? So who knows? Heck, Primo comes out the gate hot, burning hot, smoking hot. He can be the next one. So I'm just saying he opens the gate now for those opportunities for those players to really blossom to something really great. And I think Josh Primo, man, I think we're going to see something nice.
Oh, we're gonna see his name in a few categories.
He's super young. You see what I'm saying? He's super young. We haven't witnessed what he's about to do. He had some flares in the late season, and I think we're going to see a lot more.
Yeah, no, for sure. I want to share one last tidbit about Murray. So apparently he had such an outstanding season that he surpassed Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson as the only player in NBA history to average at least 20 points, 8 rebounds, 9 assists, and 2 steals in a single season. So DJ is making waves, man, and he's only going to get better. And
that's the key.
We've talked about, there are some areas he needs to improve in, like his 3-point shooting. But I think if he can become a more efficient 3-point shooter, it'll only make him an even more dangerous weapon out there, and an even bigger building block for the Spurs organization. So I think we about covered it, man. DJ's going places, and this team is going to be going places as long as it continues to develop these guys. And I'm looking forward to seeing what other names we're going to see in these categories in our next go around for the Spursies. But that wraps up the first annual Spursies here on the Baller Boys podcast. I am Mark. He is Shemaiah, the SOTP, the music man with the plan. Shemaiah, what's your Twitter handle, man?
Yeah, Shemaiah on BT. Super easy to find me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And you can follow me at Mark the MC, MARKTH, 3 3s, no E's, capital M, capital C. Follow us on Twitter. We like to retweet and post some stuff. We like to post like sports stuff. It is, if you couldn't tell, because we talk about sports here on the Baller Boys. But nonetheless, this wraps up our awesome first attempt at an awards episode. So, give us some constructive criticism. Hopefully we did y'all. we did well on y'all's expectations. And ultimately, I hope we did well ourselves. And I feel like we did live up to our own expectations, Shemaiah. This was not an easy undertaking, but we got through it. We did it. So, guys, tune in next time when we talk about your favorite sports, and more sports. We release multiple episodes a week, so keep your eyes peeled for that. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're all over the place. If you have a break, maybe you're working out, you're driving to work, or you're driving home from work, throw us on. We're also available on YouTube. We got a YouTube channel. If you follow us on Twitter, you'll see our reminders. You'll see our promotional stuff. You can't miss it. So guys, until next time, peace out. Tell your mom, tell your grandma, Baller Boys.